WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Germany, often reviewing rare and exotic whiskeys. I'm not even sure if these are available outside of Europe, but we'll see. We have here the Tomintoul. We have the Tomintoul Small Batch Madeira Cask Finish. I love Madeira Cask Finishes. What about you? And we have over here the Glencadam Madeira Wine Cask Finish. Small batch. Now, Jason, why are you reviewing the two of these? Well, the two of these are made by the same company. That's the same distillery, the same company. They're both distilleries. They're both owned by the Agnes Dundee Company. 1950. We actually have here Terry Hillman started Agnes Dundee after being an executive at the Burn Stewart Company. 50 years, he just blended whiskey. Did a great job. 2000, he bought Tomintoul. 2003, he bought Glencadam. There he had a source of single malt. He still buys the grain. He still blends a lot, but now a focus is also on the single malt components here. We have a interesting set of whiskeys that have hit the market, at least over here in Germany and Europe. We have a total of 10 different Tomintoul cask finishes in the small batch series. I'm going to try to name all of them here for you real quick. They are, that just hit the market. We have the Amarone, just did a video about that. We have the Tempranillo. We have the Madeira. And last year we had 7 that hit the market. The rum, the cognac, the Merlot, the Pedro Jimenez, the Pinot Noir, the Tawny Port, and the White Port. So there's 10 different products from Tomintoul, no age statement, all 40%, all over here in Germany for about 42 euros. No mention of natural color, no mention of chill filtration, but 10 different products. Thank you, Robert Fleming, for giving us the chance to actually share, review, and learn about what cask finishes does to the product. With Glencadam, we have a total of 7, which is still great. So just hit the market were the 2. We had the Amarone and the Madeira. That's why I bought the appropriate one from Tomintoul each time to compare it to. But last year we had the Pedro Jimenez, we had the White Port, the Tawny Port, we had the Merlot, we had the Pinot Noir, we had the Amarone, and now we have the Madeira. So a total of 7 of these. So we have 17 different products. All no age statement. These are always 46%, 40%. Always natural color, non-chilled filtered. No mention of anything over here. But the funny thing is, this is natural color. This is not, at least according to the label. There's no mention. And it's lighter. I just think that's so funny. All right. Now, the one thing that bugs me a little bit is the following. Now, I'm over here in Germany. Germany has an importer called Kirsch Import. They do a fantastic job of bringing us great whiskey to Germany at a good price. So we're about 10 euros under the price in the UK for this one, all right? Now, this one, we're about 5 euros under the price. Why do I say that? Because both of these actually in the UK cost the same. In Germany, they don't. This has a recommended retail price of $43.90. I had 42, and this has a recommended retail price of $49.90. Why is Glencadam more expensive than Tomintoul? I really don't know, but that's the thing that is there. Before I talk about the whiskey, I want to spend about 2-3 sentences here on Madeira. Madeira is a region. It's an island. And anything produced on that island is a Madeira wine. There could be sweet wines, there can be dry wines. Now, this is off the coast of Africa, down by the Canarian Islands, basically, and it's a fortified wine. What does fortified mean? Fortified means that we actually have a wine, just like we do normal wines, and we stop that fermentation process by adding brandy, wine that had been distilled to a higher percentage proof. And that's fortified wines. Port is fortified, sherry is fortified, other wines are also fortified. And that's what we do with Madeira. All right, so I love fortified wines, and we love to use fortified wines here for our whiskey finishing or even full maturation. Now, there are basically here different types of winemaking process. And the thing is, it's first of all, we have to talk about the sweet wines and the dry wines. And second of all, we have to talk a tiny little bit about the aging process. All right, so if you're going to make a sweet Madeira wine, you're going to label it basically Malvasia. Some people actually write Malzay. Some people write with an S, some write it with a Z. And you actually stop it very, very early by adding that brandy to it so that it's a dark, rich caramel flavor. Yeah, it's a lot of sweetness, the highest sweetness you can have from Madeira. You can wait a little bit longer in the fermentation process to add your brandy, and that's the bula. Sometimes B-U-A-L, sometimes B-O-A-L. All right, and that's the dark, rich, and a little bit more raisiny moment. We can actually wait a little bit longer before we add the brandy. That's when we have the Verdelho. All right, and this is a little bit more of the high acidity, and because they actually leave the grape skin on there, sometimes there's a little bit of a smoky note. And the driest Madeira that you have here is Sercilia. My Portuguese is not existent, I'm so sorry. All right, and that has almond flavors and also high acidity due to the wine grapes still being on there. You can use white grapes, you can use red grapes. That is also not very, very important for me at this moment. What is important is with Madeira, it's the aging process. And I finally understood this. We have the normal barrel aging process called Canteiro. That's the highest quality of Madeira wines. They do not use artificial heat. They're stored in the warm rooms of the vineyard, where the warm climate of the Madeira island anyways is there. They can age in the barrel for 20 years, usually 10 plus. And they can be in the bottle for another 100 plus years. That's crazy, all right? So, now, most Madeira wines are actually made using then the so-called Ustuvacem. I'm terrible with my names. And that is actually storing wines in large wooden casks in a specially designed room outfitted with steam-producing tanks or pipes that heat the room, creating a type of a sauna. And this process more gently exposes the wine to heat, and it can last from 6 months up to a year. So, after the barrel aging process, if you really want to get geeky, you can put these in the so-called demi-jars. Demi-jars are big glass flasks, basically. You put them in the field and you let the sunlight actually change that Madeira even more. All right, and so that's what the highest level of Madeira wines are used. What type of Madeira was used here? We don't know. But since it's the same company, since it's the same master distiller, Robert Flemings, I assume that he gave each distillery the best cask he could find. All right, so they're from Madeira. How long was the finish? We don't know. All right, so we just know that it was both of these were aged and matured in ex-bourbon casks. Nowhere was mentioned the first fill, just ex-bourbon casks. And then both of these received a maturation finish in Madeira casks from the Madeira island. All right, good. 40%, 46%. So enough about the history, enough about these whiskeys. Let's try them. I'm going to go for the Glencadam first. In my Amarona video, I did the Tomintoul first. So I just have a fair, maybe I just like the first one I drink better, or maybe I like the second one I drink better. So let's nose these and let's taste these. Now, on the nose, I get a tiny little bit of acidity, I get a lot of wood, and I get a nice little, I'm going to call it honey melon moment. Even maybe a little bit of a overly sweet grapefruit. Grapefruit is very acidic, has a lot of acid in there, but this is good. All right, full disclosure, I thoroughly enjoy, I think, almost every, if not every, single Madeira cask finished whiskey I've ever had. I often say Pedro Jimenez PX makes everything better. I'm going to go on record and say Madeira makes things even more better, even better. I mean, Madeira and whiskey just fits perfectly together, like a hand in a glove. That's just wow. And so I am very biased here. I'm gonna like both of these. All right, going over to the Tomintoul. Now the Tomintoul has less of that aroma. First of all, here I get more of the oak, more of the Madeira. Here It's a little bit sweeter. I think it's just the distillate is sweeter than the Glencadam. I think Glencadam uses a higher percentage of first fill bourbon barrels as well. All right, now I'm getting it. Yeah, honey melon, could be even a cantaloupe. Honey, sweet. I like sweet. The thing that I'm missing when I do the wine cast finishes, especially Amarone, is the sweetness. I like sweet things. If you listen to Ralphie, the beginners, even with wine, is like a sweet white wine, and then some people move to the rosé, and then some people move to a sweet red. I like a heavy red wine. All right, so it doesn't always have to be sweet, but I do like sweet. I do have a very, very, very prominent sweet tooth. All right, let's go over here. As I said, non-chilled filtered, no color added, 46% comparing it to a 40%. So if I start off with the 46, this is going to be, we'll just have a disadvantage, of course. Cilantro. Mm-hmm. Mm. Hmm. The thing that negatively surprises me each time I've tried the Glencadam recently with the no age statement small batch series is there's a certain amount of white pepper heat in the background. And I get this here as well. It almost overpowers the sweetness of the Madeira. Now the Madeira is finally coming back. It's got a nice middle long finish. It's the sweetness. It's the cantaloupe, the honey melon, the Turkish delight. This is very, very sweet, nice, well done. But there's more oak spice. There's a little bit of maltiness in there, but the sweetness is a lot. I'm going to just read the label here, what they say here. On the nose, I should be having inviting aromas of cooked apples. Did not get the apples. Brambles, did not get that. Custard tarts, I can say this, with syrup sponge cake, nutmeg, and berry cools. On the palate, I should get a wash of spiced fruits. Cantaloupe, got that. Melon, golden raisins, I agree. Summer fruit pudding, structured with dark chocolate and ginger spices. They call it ginger spice. I call it white pepper. And on the finish, it's a long, indulgent layers of brittle toffee. Yes, mocha maybe. Chocolate truffle, cushioned with cozy cake spices. Come on, cushioned with cozy cake spices. Those are words here. This is a C plus whiskey. I really, really like it. If it weren't for the heat, if it weren't for that pepper bite, it could be a B whiskey, but it's a C plus. Sweet, syrupy, great mouthfeel, nice whiskey. Would I pay 46 euros for this again? Yes. So it's B plus. Sorry, C plus whiskey. Bite is there, the wood is there, value for money, solid C. All right, going over to Tomintoul. On the nose, Glencadam wins every single time. I get a faint moment of grapefruit peel. I'm just going to read the nose before I taste it. It says here, a bouquet of summer berries, spice fruits, ginger biscuits with chocolate, orange, and baking spices. Even the tasting notes on both of these are somewhat similar. Who knows? The same company, same writer, could be. Cilantro. Mm. Mm. The very first thing you notice when you go from the Glencadam over to the Tomintoul, something's missing. The 46%, the non-chilled filtered. This is much better a whiskey from the structure, from the mouthfeel. And yet, and this is the problem I have here, the balance of the whiskey with the cask is with Tomintoul better. This is a little bit, there's the sweetness develops here, and there's no pepper bite. There's no oak spice that shows its head and kind of distracts a little bit. This is the spirit to sip with a wonderful, wonderful Madeira cask finish. This is a B- whiskey. Value for money, C+. I would recommend this whiskey. Now, if I go back to this and come back to this, I'm missing something. There is a little bit of that thickness of the mouthfeel of the 46% that's missing. But the flavor, especially even now, it's still there. The flavor, the aftertaste, the echo in my mouth continues, then it's worth it. Think Bushmills 16. Think Bushmills 21. Both of these products are 40%, and they're actually excellent where they are until you try a Causeways collection from Bushmills and, oh, I'm missing something. Yeah, as long as we're not spoiled, and many of us are, we would be more than happy with this whiskey. All right, so I tried to explain it this way. I've mentioned many times, at least in German, maybe even in English here, that Glencadam for me is sometimes like a canvas that you can actually paint on, because the casks are just the ex-bourbon casks, and you can paint on those and have a wonderful, wonderful painting. Now I'm going to go over here and do a different comparison here. Think copy paper. Paper you use for your printer. There can be bright white, there can be down to gray or even brown, depending on what quality you have of the recycling of the paper. For me, this is a light gray now, and this is a bright white. This has been bleached, all right? And you have a perfect balance of the cask with Tomintoul. Now, it's been bleached, which means actually you've taken out some of those fatty acids, you've taken out more of the alcohol that's needed, and there's something omitted that should be there. I would love to have the Tomintoul at 46%, non-chilled filtered, natural color. I think it is natural color, but okay. But I have that in Glencadam, and I must admit, I tend to actually drift over to the Tomintoul, and I'd rather prefer this. B- on taste, C+ on value for money. I should be getting here layers of juicy cantaloupe, melon. I said more honeydew, but that's good. Brambles and candied peels with chocolate mousse, and they said dark chocolate, same thing. Syrup, pancakes, and toasted oak. And at the finish, we have the cozy cake spices and cacao with highlights of ripe banana. Don't get the banana. Vanilla panna cotta. Get the panna cotta. It's just brown sugar. Just creme brulee, basically, a little bit, but different. And marmalade. This is very, very good. This would be one of my favorite of the 10 different Tomintoul expressions I've had. Wow, that was interesting. Thank you, Glencadam. Thank you, Agnes Dundee. Thank you, Tomintoul. Thank you, Robert Fleming, I'm sorry, for bringing us these 10 and 7 different cask strength expressions, at least over here in Europe. And I must admit that I am spoiled for choice. And I did not expect that this time, but my favorite is the Tomintoul. What is your favorite Madeira cask finish whiskey? It can be from Ireland, Scotland, anywhere in the world. I think Madeira makes whiskey better. PX makes whiskey better. Other things sometimes, maybe not. Wine finishes, especially white wine finishes, can be so tricky to get that right. But this is very, very good stuff. And even, now I still prefer the Tomintoul. What's wrong with me? It should be natural color, it should be non-chilled filtered, and yet that is the better product. Thank you very much for watching, liking, subscribing, and see you real soon. Bye-bye.